The Tai Chi form and Qigong is only about 1/10 of what you will learn in your Tai Chi training. It's the same for Bagua. The form is only about 1/10 of the learning. A lot of people think that, okay, they just go out there, learn a bunch of slow movements, blah, 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 then some Qigong. That's all they ever have to learn. Well, that's not true. Probably the most important part after you learn the form is to learn the training methods that we have. It's the training methods that takes everything you've learned in the form and your Qigong and puts it into action for you. It makes it work in your body, in other words. So the training methods are very important in Tai Chi. There are also many different weapons forms, which are also very important to your overall training. As I said, the same thing happens with your Bagua training. Also, there's not just one Tai Chi form you learn. You don't just learn a bunch of slow movements. Oh, okay, I know Tai Chi now. Of course, you have to practice and practice that as many times as you can throughout the day until that works upon your own body, until you're not thinking about anything anymore. You mustn't be you mustn't be thinking, oh, I've got to put my foot here, I've got to put my hands here. As soon as you think of that, the chi is blocked. So you must be able to do your Tai Chi form totally subconsciously, not thinking about your hands or where to put your hands. The hands must be moving totally by themselves because you've done it so many times. But also, there are different levels, advancements of your Tai Chi form. You learn it in block form, raise hands, take hands down, take hands out, take hands across. That's the block form, extremely basic form. You don't get much from that. Probably only get 10% out of that. Up to your highest level, just on the hold of grasping swallow's tail, and it didn't seem like I was doing anything. So there are five physical levels, and then there are a couple of other levels on top of that you must go through. So it's a bit more than just learning a bunch of movements and learning a form. Training methods. Probably the most important training method that we have is push hands. I'll just ask my son Ben to come in. A lot of people like to go straight into what's called double push hands. Big mistake. You must always start off with single push hands, and you must never ever forget your single push hands. It's very, very important. As I said in the previous lesson, this is where we learn to change the Qi into Jing. And it mustn't be a softy, yield. That's another one of my pet hates. A lot of people have just got that word totally wrong. A lot of people think, okay, you've got to push. Maybe Ben's throwing a punch. Oh, I yield to it, and then I come back with a punch or something. If you're going to do that sort of a yielding, he's just going to come through and hit you in the face. Doesn't work in a realistic situation. Yielding happens like that. Just throw the punch there, Ben. Again. See what happened then? Slowly. Yield. There's the yielding, and there's the re-attack, you see. No going backwards, just come forward all the time, but always yielding, really yielding, not the stupid type of yielding and going back and forwards. So we come to our single push hands. And once again, I tend not to teach the really, really basic push hands anymore. I tend to put my people into what's called a power stance. See how the feet are, Eli? This is a power stance. You'll notice that for those of you who are probably doing push hands with your teacher, it's the opposite of what you'll be told. Normally people have that foot out there and they have a big, low, open stance and they start pushing. Well now, in this stance, of course, it's easy. You can hold off a fairly strong push in this stance because you've got that big, low, open stances. However, push hands is a way of learning the correct body movement for self-defense. Now, you're not going to be attacked in the street standing like this, are you? You're going to say, hang on, please don't attack me, sir. I want to stand like this because that's how I've been taught to do my push hands. In the street, bang, you're decked, you see? This is how you get attacked in the street, just standing normally. So obviously, this is the way we do our push hands. In a power stance gives you extreme power, torque, in other words, in your waist. Bah! Wah! That's what the power stance does. All native races have a form of this power stance. Just standing up normally. A lot of people say, oh, you can't push me, see? Sure, ask them to stand like this, push them over easily. So this is how we train. It's not a competition. The most important thing, if someone says to you, okay, you've got to try and push him over, he's got to try and push you over, let's go into the American Championships, walk out of the class, never go back to that lesson. He's taking money off you under false pretenses. Push hands is to learn about self-defense and fighting, the body mechanics of it. Nothing to do with competition. I don't want to be pushing. I go, bah, see how I got you, you bugger, you know. Bah, he got me. That's a load of garbage. We're using each other as a training aid to help each other up the ladder to understand body mechanics. But by the same token, building up our body power and strength in our upper body and legs everywhere. This is an overall body toning exercise, especially with your feet just like this, because you've got to work even harder to stop the oncoming push coming. Now by the same token, a lot of people do the push hands like this. Ben's pushing me, and they can bend over and almost put their head on the ground. What sort of a martial art is that? Look, this is all open here. Bang, I've had it. That's where they've got it wrong. They say, oh, I'm going to yield to a push. Oh, see how you can't push me over, see? What sort of a self-defense is that? So, we don't... There is a time when we use a yin way of push hands, but that's totally different than the silly yielding that people do. So we do powerful push hands. So Ben's pushing, and we use pang to push it away. Now you notice how Ben's using his waist. See, we haven't got this anymore. It's easy to push someone like that. Much harder to use your waist. And what do we use in fighting? We don't go, oh, I'm going to punch you now. By the time you've done that, he's knifed you. We've got to be able to throw a punch from here. Bah! And what muscles do we use? The muscles all around your waist here. They're bah! Centrifugal force from the waist. And that's exactly what we're using in our push hands. Centrifugal force from the waist. You'll notice that the wrist is always in your center. If someone teaches you push hands like this, walk out. You've lost your center. Bah! Hard, good, strong push hands will build up all the correct muscles for the self-defense area. You're building up your triceps, you're building up your deltoids, you're building up your laterals. Not so much your biceps, because you really don't need them much for self-defense. You only need normal biceps for self-defense. The triceps in particular. I'm putting my full weight on Ben here, and he's taking that power and putting it down through his back leg. He's rerouting it. That's single push hands. It's also a pet hate of mine, the way people misuse push hands, misrepresent it. Then we have double push hands. Basic, I don't think I've ever taught Ben basic. Put your foot for bigger low open stance. Okay, double push hands. Push. Hand comes out, say loi chai ong. We're doing pang loi chai ong. This is basically grasping swallow's tail from your Tai Chi form. See? Ben's doing ong, I'm doing pang. I'm doing loi, and Ben's doing chi. See, they're the movements from your basic Tai Chi form of grasping swallow's tail. However, I tend not to teach people this sort of basic push hands nowadays. I tend to take people straight into what's called pang hinge push hands, which is again a power stance. It's more like this. Now what does this look like? It looks like realistic fighting, you see. This is where you fight someone. You don't fight someone out here. You fight someone here, in your face. So we use the more advanced pung hinge push hands. Pung hinge meaning, pung hinge is probably the most important aspect of your self-defense training. That's pung hinge. Everything we do in Tai Chi, pung hinge, pung hinge, pung hinge. Everything is pung hinge. Using pung hinge, if you know how to use it, you can defend yourself against anything. And only ever know pung hinge. So we're doing pung hinge double push hands now. See how Ben's attacking, I'm defending, I'm rolling it away. Now he's attacking. Now I'm attacking, he's defending, rolling it away, now I'm attacking, and so on. So it's attack defense all the time, attack defense, attack defense. Always with good solid pushes, building up all of the correct muscles for the self-defense art. Now what does it look like we're doing? We're fighting, isn't it? We're trying to, can't really talk here. And so on. And your microphone falls down your pants. That's real push hands. Has a real outcome, it has a real training value because it teaches you how to fight. The next thing we come to is Da Lu, or the Great Repulse. A lot of people get this wrong as well. Remember, in Tai Chi there's very little going backwards. So Ben's standing here. You work on a square. Push hands are said to teach you the cardinal points, directions and movement, whilst Da Lu, the Great Repulse, is said to teach you the corners, the corner defences. So I start off with a palm strike to Ben's face. He does pung and steps backwards to defend against it. Now it's his turn to step into the corner. That is a diagonal, like a diamond shape. If we've got a square here, we cut off the corners like that. That's a diamond shape. He steps onto the diamond shape and does a roll down and a pull back. See how he's pulling me down? As he pulls down, I go with the flow, I go with it, never against it. Therefore, this foot here has to step into the centre. Bang, and I come straight in at an angle again, into the corner with shoulder press. Pa! In from here. Now this is where most people get it wrong. The next move, there's lots of different things. It gets more complicated than this, of course. Ben's got to slap me in the face with this hand and step up. There's 3 steps in attack, 2 in defense. As he slaps me in the face, what most people teach here is, and I don't know why, they simply step back, which is absolutely wrong. You never step back. As he slaps me in the face, I step forward and come around him like so, and now I yank his arm down and he steps into the corner and comes in with shoulder press. Bang! And I slap him in the face and we keep going around and around like that. So that's Da Lu. We can then reverse it, and there are many more other techniques that we can use in that, but that's very basic Da Lu. That teaches you, if you've done something like, see what, if I attack Ben with a punch and he does that grab down, wow, okay, I've done something wrong to get into this position in the first place. But if I do something wrong and get into that position, as he yanks me down, I can have something to get out of it, at least something. So if you have to use Da Lu, in other words, your technique isn't quite correct. Because no one can grab a hand. I once made the statement that locks and holds don't work. Sure, a lock and a hold will work if we're training in the house. Ben puts his hand there, I say, oh, see, and break his wrist like many people do. But how's anyone going to get a lock or hold on you? Bah! No one can grab your hand at that speed. So if I'm punching Ben and he's going to grab my hand and pull it down, that's what I should have done. But Da Lu's there just in case. The next very important area, all the time we're building up Jing. We're converting Qi into Jing, of course, doing this. Next very important training area teaches you in your Tai Chi form all the movements up to the single foot posture. So I'll just do a few of these. It's called small Sansao. You do it as a solo exercise, and then you put it together with your partner. So we'll just do the first few moves with Ben. They're the first few moves. You see that posture there? There's double pung from your Tai Chi form, you see? And it keeps going right up until the single whip postures. One of the single whip one in here, Ben. One of the bah! Sorry. Bah! That's one of your single whip strikes, you see? And then it goes on to the more common palm strike as well. That's small sansao. Then we've got the large sansao, which happens solo. I'll just show you a little area of the solo. That's the large sansao, or pao chui form, or cannon fist form as it's called. And it takes you through every possible attack and defense method in the form. You've got two parts, A and B. You learn them solo first, and then you can put them together with a partner. I might just ask Ben and Eli to come in here and just do the first few moves of that for me, would you? Thank you, Eli. So this is going to be a little bit of the large sansao, we call it, when you put it together with a partner. Just do a couple of the moves, the first few moves, boys. They're just learning it at the present. Okay, thank you, boys. Very good. Okay. There are many, many more training methods, of course, that you must go through. You've got to go through knife fighting, you've got to go through small stick fighting. There's many areas you can go to, but these are just the major ones, the major foundation forms that I'm going over, just to give you some idea of what more there is to Tai Chi. Then we have weapons. We have things like very beautiful and dangerous weapon, the Tai Chi broadsword. There's this Qigong in the forms too. A lot of people just don't tell you that. And so on. You might have heard that's quite a stiff but bendy sword, but you must use Fa Jing, and you must hear that thwack because you're pushing it so fast that the sword actually buckles and then it catches up. That's one of the ways you can tell, is if you're doing correct weapons forms. That's your broadsword. I haven't got a double-edged sword, but there's things like that, double-edged sword. There's Tai Chi stick form, a very beautiful form, which I'll get Ben to demonstrate the first couple of moves for you. Thank you, Ben. Just go up to the first twirly bits. Okay, that'll do. Thank you, Darren. Good boy. And we have spear form. This is a most beautiful form. Again, Qigong to start with. All these are covered, by the way, on our MTG video titles and DVD titles. Where am I up to? Oh, don't tell me. I do know this. And so on. So the whole form goes right through like that. There are many, many more movements, of course. That's just to give you a little idea of how the form, looks. And so on. All the ways with Fa Jing on the end of it. See how there's a little twist on the end of it? Once again, the spear form is also based upon Dim Mak. It's a very, like that, see? It goes at the end. It doesn't just go and stick into someone. It comes through and at the end of it there's a little shake. An L shape down here, across like so. So you get on the end of it, you see? A brilliant form as well. I might get Eli in to do a little bit of the Bagua pole form. It's a beautiful form, although it's not from Tai Chi, it's still a very beautiful form. Hey, why don't you start out facing the other way?
Which way?
Well, start out facing a different... You don't want to come towards the camera. Start out facing me.
Anyway, there's not enough room.
Well, just do the first few bits. Okay, that's good. Thank you, darling. Good boy. Okay. Just coming on a bit of a close-up, Eli. So I hope that I've given you some sort of an indication as to what more is to come, both with your training methods and also with your weapons forms. It's very important to be given the whole sphere of Tai Chi and not just a bunch of slow movements and then say, okay, you know Tai Chi now. This is what's happened to Tai Chi in recent years, well not in recent years, but about the past 30, 40 years in fact. Someone's taught someone, he may have learned it from a well-respected master, but he learns the form and he thinks, oh, I know it now, I'll go away and start teaching someone. Before he's learned the whole lot. And then he'll teach someone and he'll teach someone and so on and so on. Until we get Tai Chi nowadays, which, you know, people say, oh, yeah, I know that, yeah, I learned it once, yeah, but yeah, the slow movements, yeah, that's great. That's all they know of Tai Chi. They don't know about all the beautiful training methods, very effective training methods. Tai Chi is the most deadly fighting art ever invented. It's not just a health art, but by the same token, it's also one of the most beneficial health arts ever invented. So I hope you've been able to get some sort of an idea as to what there is to come in your Tai Chi training. Thank you.